Imagine you were handed a scoreboard when you were young. Nobody explains who designed it. Nobody asks whether you agree with it. It's simply there. And over time, you learn what earns points. Good grades, the right school, a respectable career, more money, a promotion, a nicer house, a better car, recognition, followers, status, productivity, achievement. So you look around and notice everyone else seems to be watching the same scoreboard. So you start playing. You make decisions. You sacrifice. You compete. You compare. And every time the number goes up, you get a little confirmation that you're winning. But imagine something strange happens. Years into the game, you finally stop and ask, winning what? You achieved the things you were supposed to achieve, but were they things you actually wanted? Or did you simply become good at scoring points in a game you never consciously chose to play? That is the file we're opening today. Welcome to episode 10 of Life Philosophies. Define success before the world defines it for you. Last episode, we explored the arrival fallacy, the belief that once I finally get there, then I'll be happy. But there's another question underneath that. Why were you trying to get there in the first place? Why that salary? Why that title? Why that house? Why that lifestyle? Why that career? And why that definition of achievement? Some of your answers may be deeply personal. Others may have been inherited from your family, your culture, your peers, your industry, advertising, social media, people you admire, people you're trying to impress, people you're trying to prove wrong. The goal today is not to reject society. It isn't to pretend money doesn't matter. And it isn't to say conventional success is somehow fake. It's to ask something more precise. Which parts of your definition of success did you actually choose? The word success sounds objective, but success always depends on criteria. A basketball team succeeds by scoring more points. A bridge succeeds if it safely carries traffic. A medication may succeed if it produces a desired clinical outcome. But what does it mean for a life to succeed? Now, the measurement becomes much less obvious. Is it money, health, longevity, family, freedom, contribution, status, peace, knowledge, adventure, creativity, character, or even love? There isn't one universally accepted scoreboard. So whenever someone says, I want to be successful, the next question should be, successful according to what measure? Until that question is answered, success is just a word. Most of us don't consciously design our first definition of success. We absorb one. Think about the questions people ask children. What do you want to do when you grow up? Then later, where are you going to college? What are you majoring in? What do you do for work? Did you get your promotion? How much is that house worth? None of these questions are inherently bad, but notice what they measure. Achievement is visible. Income can be counted. Job titles can be compared. Possessions can be seen. But many important parts of life are difficult to display. How peaceful is your mind? How trustworthy are you? Do people feel safe telling you the truth? Do you like how you spend your ordinary Tuesday? Are your relationships healthy? Do you respect the person you've become? Those don't fit neatly on a resume, which means a culture focused on visual measurements may unintentionally teach us if it can't be displayed, it doesn't count. Suppose your definition of success is primarily income. What happens? You begin optimizing decisions around income. Maybe that's exactly what you need, but every metric creates incentives. If the metric is money, you may accept longer hours, more stress, less flexibility, more responsibility, and less free time. Again, none of these trade-offs are automatically wrong. The issue is whether you consciously chose them. If your metric is status, you may choose work that looks impressive rather than work you enjoy. If your metric is followers, you may optimize your life for attention. If your metric is productivity, you may begin treating rest as failure. A metric doesn't merely measure your life. It can begin organizing your life. That's why choosing the metric matters. There's a useful thought experiment sometimes framed as the difference between resume virtues and eulogy virtues. Your resume contains things like degrees, jobs, achievements, skills, awards, and promotions. Your eulogy, if people speak honestly, might contain different things. They showed up. They were generous. They kept their word. They made people laugh. They were curious. They loved deeply. They were dependable. They made people feel seen. They had courage. They were there when it mattered. Both categories can matter. The point is not bad career, relationships good. It's that many people spend enormous energy building the first list while assuming the second will somehow take care of itself. It won't. Character requires time. Relationships also require time. Presence requires time. And time spent maximizing one scoreboard is time unavailable to another. Every definition of success has a price. Suppose you want to become one of the best in the world at something. It's possible, maybe. But what does that require? Hours, repetition, sacrifice, opportunity cost, travel, risk, attention. And maybe that's worth it. But don't only look at the score. Ask yourself, what does this score cost? A larger business may mean more money, but it also means more employees, more responsibility, more complexity. A higher level career may mean prestige, influence, income, and perhaps less time, more pressure, more visibility. Success isn't just receiving the reward. Success is also accepting the life required to maintain the reward. That was part of episode 9. But now, we're asking whether you wanted that life in the first place. Here's one of the fastest ways to lose control of your scoreboard. Look sideways. You were satisfied with your apartment. Then someone buys a house. You liked your salary. Then you learn what someone else earns. You were proud of your business. Then you see someone younger than you with a larger company. You enjoyed running. Then, your feed fills with people running faster. Nothing about your life changed, but your measurement did. Comparison can provide useful information. It can inspire, teach, even challenge. But comparison can also quietly replace your goals. So you stop asking, is my life working? And start asking instead, am I ahead? Those are completely different questions. Suppose success means more than the person next to me. So how do you win? You don't. There's always someone with more money, more influence, more recognition, more followers, a better title, a bigger company, a better body, a more impressive resume. If your scoreboard depends on relative position, the finish line moves every time the comparison group changes. You enter a new room. Now, there are new people ahead. You achieve more. Now, you're invited into rooms with people who achieved even more. This creates a strange paradox. Success can increase the number of people you compare yourself with. The better you do, the more elite the comparison group becomes. And suddenly, you can feel behind while objectively moving forward. But remember, we should be careful. Status matters. Humans are social creatures. Reputation affects opportunity. Social standing can affect how people treat you. Money matters. Careers matter. Recognition can matter. The goal is not to pretend external measures are meaningless. It's to put them in their proper place. You can say, income is one measure of how my career is going, without saying, income is the measure of whether my life is going well. And that is a critical distinction. One metric can provide useful information without becoming the entire scoreboard. Instead of one measure of success, imagine several. Health. Is your body being cared for? Relationships. Are important relationships receiving attention? Work. Are you doing work that supports the life you're trying to build? Finances. Are you creating sufficient stability and options? Character. Are your actions consistent with the person you want to be? Freedom. How much control do you have over your time and decisions? Growth. Are you still learning? Contribution. Does anything you do improve life beyond yourself? Enjoyment. Do you actually like any meaningful portion of your life? You don't need these exact categories. That's the point. You get to choose them. Even if two people value the same things, they may weigh them differently. So imagine career 30%, family 25%, health 20%, freedom 15%, learning 10%. Another person might say family 40%, freedom 25%, health 20%, career 10%, learning 5%. Neither formula is objectively correct, and the weights can change. At 22, career exploration might dominate. At 35, family might become more important. During illness, health may temporarily become the overwhelming priority. After financial instability, security may matter more. A definition of success isn't necessarily permanent. It should be examined periodically because the person using it changes. Here's a difficult question. What if your ambition isn't yours? Maybe you want the prestigious career because your parents value prestige. Maybe you want wealth because you grew up around financial anxiety. Maybe you want recognition because you spent years feeling invisible. Maybe you want a certain lifestyle because social media taught you what success is supposed to look like. None of that automatically makes the goal invalid. Origins don't determine value, but knowing the origin helps. So ask yourself, if nobody could see this achievement, would I still want it? That's a useful test, not a perfect one. Some achievements matter, partly because they're social. But if the desire disappears the moment the audience disappears, that's information. Many of us perform for an invisible audience. People from school, former coworkers, family, an ex, strangers online, someone who doubted us 10 years ago. We imagine them witnessing our success. Oh, they'll see. That can be powerful fuel, but there's a danger. You can build an entire life around proving something to someone who may not even be watching. Imagine reaching the goal. You have the title, the money, the house, the recognition, and the person you were trying to impress doesn't care. Now what? A life built for an audience can feel strangely empty when the audience leaves. What if success isn't primarily a destination? What if it's a degree of alignment, an alignment between what you say matters and how you actually spend your resources? You say family matters. Does your calendar agree? You say health matters. Do your habits agree? You say creativity matters. Does any time go towards creating? You say freedom matters. Are your financial decisions increasing or decreasing it? You say integrity matters. Do your decisions change when nobody's watching? This gives us more demanding definition of success. Does the structure of my life reflect the values I claim to have? That's measurable in a different way. If you want to understand your current scoreboard, look at your calendar. Not your intentions, but your calendar. Where does the time go? Work? Family? Exercise? Scrolling? Friends? Learning? Recovery? Entertainment? Commuting? Now, look at your spending. Where does the money go? Then, look at your attention. What occupies your thoughts? These aren't perfect measures. Some responsibilities consume time, whether we value them or not. But together, they reveal something. Your actual life has priorities, even when you haven't consciously chosen them. Your calendar is a rough record of what your current system rewards. Now, let's make this practical. Take out a blank piece of paper and write success. Underneath, answer these questions. Number 1, what does success currently mean to me? Don't write what sounds wise. Write what your behavior suggests. Number 2, where did that definition come from? Was it your family, culture, peers, fear, ambition, values, social media, past experiences? Number 3, which parts do I genuinely endorse? Keep them. Number 4, which parts am I maintaining, mostly for appearance? Pay attention to those. They're important. Number 5, what am I sacrificing to score well? Is it time, health, relationships, peace, freedom? Number 6, is the trade worth it? Maybe it's a yes, maybe it's a no. Number 7, if nobody could see my life, what would I still want? That's the uncomfortable one. Now, create your own categories. Maybe it's health, relationships, financial security, meaningful work, freedom, character, learning, adventure, creativity, or community. But only pick 5, not 20 of them. 5 forces prioritization. Now define what good enough means in each category. Not perfection, but what's enough. For example, health. I move regularly, sleep adequately, and receive appropriate care. Relationships. I consistently make time for people I claim matter most. Finances. My obligations are covered. I'm building resilience. And money is increasing options rather than merely appearances. Work. My work provides sufficient income and enough meaning, growth, or freedom to justify its costs. Character. I genuinely behave in ways I can respect, even when nobody rewards me. Your categories will be different, and they should be. Episode 9 asked, what is enough? Now, we need to apply it to success. If your financial goal has no definition of enough, then more wins forever. If your career has no definition of enough, the next promotion always becomes necessary. If your business has no definition of enough, growth can become automatic. If your fitness goal has no definition of enough, improvement can become obsession. Enough doesn't mean I stopped growing. It means growth is no longer required to prove that my current life has value. You can pursue more from a position of sufficiency. That's very different from pursuing more because the present feels unacceptable. Now remember, your scoreboard can change by season. Imagine you're a new parent. For several months, career growth may receive less attention. That's not failure. The weights just changed. Someone started a company, may temporarily devote extraordinary time to work. That's not automatically imbalance. It depends on whether the trade-off is conscious and sustainable. Someone recovering from burnout may make rest a major priority. Someone in financial crisis may temporarily prioritize income. Success doesn't require every category to be maximized simultaneously. That's impossible. A better question is, given the season I'm in, are my trade-offs intentional? Here's another useful correction. You can be succeeding in one dimension and failing in another. Your career's thriving, but your health is deteriorating. Finances improving. Relationship weakening. Recognition increasing. Freedom disappearing. Or the opposite. Career uncertain relationships strong, health improving, learning accelerating. A single label like I'm successful or I'm failing can hide enormous complexity. Life is not one number, and that means one setback does not necessarily mean the whole system is failing. Now imagine there are two scoreboards. The public scoreboard, what other people can easily see, income, title, possessions, followers, awards, and credentials. Then the private scoreboard, what you know when nobody is watching. Did I keep my word? Did I treat people well? Did I spend time where I said I would? Did I protect my health? Did I make something meaningful? Did I have the courage to say no? Did I live according to values I actually endorse? Public success isn't bad, but if the public scoreboard looks incredible while the private scoreboard is collapsing, eventually you have to live inside the private one. Imagine yourself at 80, not as a prediction, as a perspective exercise. Looking backward, which things would you be glad you optimized? Would you care about the extra title, a slightly larger house, winning that argument, having the newest thing? Maybe some of those achievements really would matter, but perhaps other things become more visible from that distance. People, experiences, health, work you were proud of, risks you took, things you created, times you showed up. The point isn't to become sentimental. It's to change the viewing distance. Some metrics look enormous from 5 feet away and tiny from 50 years away. Here's my favorite practical test. Forget your dream life. Describe your ideal ordinary Tuesday. What time do you wake up? Where? Who is around? What kind of work do you do? How much control do you have over your schedule? Do you move your body? Who do you talk to? What do you eat? How rushed are you? How much time is yours? What does the evening feel like? This can reveal more than imagining my successful life, because life is mostly ordinary Tuesdays. A definition of success that produces an impressive highlight reel but miserable Tuesdays may need revision. For the next 7 days, notice every moment when you evaluate yourself. I'm behind. I'm doing well. I should have more by now. They're ahead of me. I'm wasting time. I need to achieve more. When? You can ask this instead. According to whose scoreboard? Then, identify the metric. Is it money? Age? Status? Productivity? Appearance? Followers? Career? Possessions? Now ask, do I consciously endorse this measure? If yes, keep it. If no, why is it still allowed to judge you? Imagine nobody could ever know what you've achieved. Your salary is private. Your house is invisible. Nobody knows your job title. Nobody sees your possessions. There are no follower counts, no public rewards, no resume, no status symbols. Now ask, what would still make you believe your life was going well? Who would you want around? How would you spend your days? What would you want to learn? What would you want to create? What kind of person would you want to be? What would still matter when it couldn't impress anyone? Those answers might belong on your scoreboard. So, let's close the file. Success isn't one thing. It's a measurement. And measurements shape behavior. If you measure life primarily through money, you'll optimize for money. If you measure through status, you'll optimize for status. If you measure through approval, you'll optimize for approval. And if you never choose the measurement, you'll probably inherit one from culture, family, peers, advertising, algorithms, people you admire, people you're competing with. Maybe parts of that inherited scoreboard are worth keeping, so keep them, but examine them first, because you can become extremely successful at a game you never actually wanted to play. So define your categories, understand their costs, choose your trade-offs, decide what enough means, and remember, life is not one scoreboard. You can be winning publicly while losing privately. You can look behind according to someone else's metrics while living remarkably well according to your own. So the takeaway from episode 10 is, if you don't define what counts as success, the world will hand you a scoreboard, and you may spend your life winning a game you never chose to play. So let's recap. Episode 1 asked, who are you? Episode 2, how are you living? Episode 3, are your thoughts true? Episode 4, what story do you call your identity? Episode 5, what does your behavior prove? Episode 6, what has your behavior learned to do automatically? Episode 7, what actually belongs to your control? Episode 8, what can you do with what stands in your way? Episode 9, are you postponing your life until you arrive somewhere else? Episode 10, whose scoreboard are you using? And that leads to the next problem, because once you define what matters to you, there's still a gap between knowing what matters and actually spending your life on it. You can say family matters and still never have time. You can say health matters and never exercise. You can say creativity matters and never create. You can say freedom matters while constructing obligations that remove it. So the next file asks, if something truly matters to you, where does it appear in your life? Episode 11, your calendar reveals your priorities, because values aren't only what you say matters. Eventually, they become visible in where your time goes. And that is where we are going next.